Hi everybody, this is Julissa. Thank you so much everybody for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much to everybody who's listening right now in the podcast. It is Saturday, December 21st, 2024. I wanted to come here and speak about this breaking news that has been breaking news, I guess you can say, for the whole day regarding the new lawsuit regarding actress Blake Lively against Justin Baldoni, actor Justin Baldoni. And I know this is not the typical topics that I normally would come and share with you, but there's something very interesting about this lawsuit and something that we should be paying attention to. Okay, um, it's a very um, it's a very delicate subject, and I think during the fall I saw the fallout that they had regarding how people noticed that they were not getting along as well as they wanted the media to make believe, I guess you can say. Before I continue, I do want to give you a warning because it's a very cold day here in New England, Connecticut, and in a couple minutes my heater is gonna go off, so you might hear some noise. But before, also I wanted to thank you so much everybody who has been subscribing and following me on Spotify. Please don't forget to follow me on Spotify. It really means a lot to me as a creator. So here's the thing, you guys. I follow on TikTok the whole ordeal regarding Blake Lively, excuse me, and actor Justin Baldoni. In the ends with those few that people, I guess, they were filming in Jersey City. I'm not sure exactly the day that they were filming, but they were able to, the audience, I guess you can say, the onlookers, when they were filming this movie or this series, they were able to pick on that there was some type of disagreement, or they were not as friend as they perceived to be, right, between these two actors, right. And let me just tell you something. This is a side note. Back in the early 2000s, I was in college in Tarrytown, New York, and they were filming a very famous movie called The Mona Lisa Smile. It's so crazy because I was just talking to my friend about Mona Lisa. And I was, when they were in town producing that film, this film included, what is her name? Julia Roberts, included uh, Kristen Dunst, I believe, and Maggie Gyllenhaal. I saw her. And, the word got to our college that they were in town filming this movie in Tarrytown, New York. And we made the effort after class to go and see if we can spot Julia Roberts, all these people, right? All these famous actors. And it was very interesting to see like how the whole town was kind of set up, this part of Main Street. I guess you could say, I don't know if it was exactly Main Street or Broadway Street, now that I remember. But I remember getting to the set where they were shooting the Mona Lisa Smile, right, in Terrytown. And I remember them, it was very interesting to see like the crew and the makeup session, like all these signs, the trailers for these actors. And we were just in there trying to see if we see like Julia Roberts, like back then, she was like the most famous one from, that I can pick on. And spending a long time there with my friend outside with a bunch of older students, that we were just there after class trying to see what happens, try to see if we can see how they shoot this movie right in town. And I will never forget when Maggie Gyllenhaal came out. And, I'm not trying to bash anybody, but I remember her coming out dressed in her costume. And I guess she was coming out back to walk to her trailer by herself, right? And she passes us by, and one guy said to her, "Hey, are you Julia Roberts?" And she got so annoyed, right? And her reaction was like, "No, I am not Julia Roberts." Kind of like, "Stop talking to me." And I will never forget that. This is such a sign. I wasn't even gonna share this, but it's so quick, right? It is so quick to take that. You see people in Hollywood, and you see them in that moment, and you see them in the award shows, and they're all dressed so nice, and they all look like they're perfect. They're always happy and smiling. And then you see them in person. It takes a second for them to the entire career to be taken away because the way they reacted to a fan or somebody, right? And we were all like so shocked the way she reacted. But anyways, when people are talking about Blake Lively and Joseph Baldoni, and one thing about the internet is that everything's there for you to search about it, right? And people were saying, the people that were looking at how this movie was being filmed in Jersey, they noticed that there was some type of, disagreement with them. They were arguing a lot. And then all of this back footage came out and was posted on social media. And then the whole ordeal came out saying, they don't like each other. They are avoiding each other, right? And I remember them also, there was some type of rumor saying a lot of the cast from This Ends With Us doesn't like Justin Baldoni. And at one point, people were saying, people feel bad for him. How can they do this to him? They just, they just don't want him to get the acclamation that he deserves for this film. And then things came out regarding Blake Lively, right? Past interviews that she did years ago, right? And that's the thing with these celebrities, right? We don't get to see how they are. At the end of the day, they're all humans, right? And it's so crazy how quick that image of superstardom, super friendliness, it erases from somebody. And just if they had like a bad reaction to you, you're like, they're a horrible person. It goes from being the best star to like, oh yeah, I know, I met her one time and she was horrible, and then immediately everybody's like, oh, she's horrible. It's so quick like that. That's why we have to be so careful about talking regarding somebody, right? And talking about somebody how they are to us, and also believing that everybody's like, that people are not human. People are still human. They get mad, they get upset, they're having a bad day too. And that's just part of our human life, right? So the thing with this lawsuit about Joseph Baldoni, that Blake presented regarding Joseph Baldoni and the allegations and the assaults that she felt and the behavior that he presented during this film. Here's the thing with that, okay? I'm going to read to you briefly about it. Like I said, you're going to hear my heater going off here. So here's the thing, you guys. I'll try to speak very loud now. Let me read to you briefly exactly more details about this lawsuit. Blake Lively has filed a legal complaint against E Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni, allegedly sexual harassment and a campaign to destroy her reputation. According to the legal filings, she accuses Mr. Baldoni and his team of attacking her public image following a meeting in which she brought along her actor husband, Ryan Reynolds, to address repeated harassment and other disturbing behavior by Baldoni and a producer of the movie. Mr. Baldoni's legal team told the news the allegations are false, and they hired a crisis manager because Lively has threatened to derail the film unless her demands were met. In the romantic drama, Miss Lively plays a woman who finds herself in a relationship with a charming but abusive boyfriend. That is played by Baldoni, okay? The meeting between Lively and Baldoni, together with others involved in the movie production, took place on January 4th of this year, and it aimed to address the hostile work environment on the set. Miss Lively's husband, Mr. Reynolds, which we all know who he is, right? Ryan Reynolds, who did not appear in Ends With Us, joined her at the showdown, according to the legal complaint, which is one step before a lawsuit. Mr. Baldoni, 40, attended the meeting in his capacity as the co-chairman and co-founder of the company that produced the film. He was also the film's director. In the legal complaint, Ms. Lively's lawyers alleged that both Baldoni and the Wayfair chief executive officer, James Heath, engaged in inappropriate and unwelcome behavior towards her and others on the set. In the filing to the California Civil Rights Department, it lists 30 demands relating to the pair allegedly misconduct which made the meeting to ensure they could not continue to produce the film. Let me just read that again because it says here, a list of 30 demands relating to the pair's alleged misconduct was made at the meeting to ensure they could continue to produce the film. Among them, Ms. Lively, 37, requested that there will be no more mention of Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Health's previous addition to something very, graphic that I don't want to mention here. And also, Ms. Lively and to other crew members, no more description of their own private parts, I guess you can say, and no more adding, explicit scenes on camera to this movie that they were making outside the scope, signing the complaints is here. Also, Ms. Lively demanded that Mr. Baldoni stop saying he could speak to her dead father. That's very crazy that he will go there regarding her dad. Like, if this is true about him doing that, that's very crazy, okay? Miss Lively legal team further accused Mr. Baldoni and the studios to leading a multi-tier plan to wreck her reputation. She alleges this was the intended result of a carefully crafted, coordinated, and reduced retaliatory scheme to silence her and others from speaking about the hostile environment that Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath created. According to the legal complaint, Mr. Baldoni's lawyer said on Saturday, which is today, it is shameful that Ms. Lively and her representative will make such serious and categorical false accusation against Mr. Baldoni and the studio's representative. Mr. Freeman accused Ms. Lively of making numerous demands and threats, including threatening not to show to the set and not to promote the film, which would end up ultimately leading to a dismissed during release if her demands were not met. He alleged that Ms. Lively's claims were intentionally salacious with an intent to publicly hurt and rehash a narrative in the media. Okay, so there's a lot on this thing, right? It's a long article. I'm not going to read to you guys, the whole thing. But here's my opinion about, here's my take on this. I believe that if in January 4th of this year, 2024, they had this meeting concerning this hostile environment, okay, that was happening in the set, and she walks into this meeting with no other than her famous husband. I think that for this, this is what I'm getting, guys, and I know it's a very sensitive subject, okay? There's millions and millions of people who are affected by harassment at work, and by, sexual harassment. Is very delicate. This whole movie was about domestic violence and all of that. It's very delicate. This is not taking away, but I find it very crazy that Mr. Baldoni is going to be so bold to do all of this in a set and think that he's going to come out winning when he's doing all of this against Blake Lively and against, when you're targeting her, you're also targeting her husband, right? Especially if they're in the same industry. Like, are you serious? They are a pair. They're like basically one. So if you gonna go in this media, what is it called? A smear campaign. Mr. Baldoni is very bold to after having this huge meeting saying these are the demands and this hostile environment needs to stop, and you need to stop mentioning her dead dad, and you need to stop mentioning your previous addiction. Like, you're talking like, let me just tell you, this is my issue with this. When we hear about all these allegations about celebrities, usually there's somebody who's more famous than the other. And usually the more famous one is the more empowered one to make the abuse, okay? Because they feel like they have all the power. Mr. Baldoni, from what I hear people saying online, and I don't want to say just my opinion, but from what I hear people saying online, he was brought to more of a media, mainstream media, I guess you can say, after this whole This Is Us film and This Is Us controversy, I guess you can say. Blake Lively is very well known. Her husband is very well known. We're not talking people who are just starting out in the industry, right? And I find it very, if this is all exactly as they describe, Mr. Baldoni is a very bold guy to go against, to not only create that type of environment and think that Blake is just going to hold hands and just follow along and not say anything to her husband, right? Which is another big media person, right? A big celebrity. Mr. Baldoni is very bold to not only have that meeting early in the year, continue the bad behavior, and then spread this smear campaign, which from my understanding after following this whole thing on TikTok was that people started noticing during the premiere of This Is Us that something was off with the two main characters of this movie, that on the red carpet, they were basically avoiding each other. That on the red carpet, everybody else was avoiding him also, right? And that is another thing. This lawsuit said that he created a hostile work environment, and Mr. Baldoni spoke about other members of the crew, private and physical appearance, right? Where is everybody else coming along with her and saying, we were there, we are part of it, and we're also in this lawsuit? Why she didn't bring them along with this, right? So regardless of everything that came out of her, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that she's lying, nothing like that, but I find it that Mr. Baldoni must be a very bold guy to go and do all of this, and after having this huge meeting, continue on. And not only that, instead of making things better, he continued on and created this whole smear campaign. And like I told you guys, from my understanding, Mr. Baldoni, this is basically, here's the thing. If they're saying here he's the producer of this whole film, why will he go and create a smear campaign, the main actress in his own film, that will basically couldn't make people not want to see his work? That will eventually affect his income, I guess you can say, right? That's very odd, okay? The other thing is, like I told you guys, where is everybody else part of the crew that's not coming out and talking about him, right? And the other thing is that when we first learned that there was something off with them was during that premiere, how everybody was seemed to be avoiding Mr. Baldoni, and how people were saying on social media how the two main characters seem that they don't like each other in person, like outside of the character, that they don't even greet each other on the red carpet. That's the thing. It's not like he said that about her. People noticed that, okay, and then they started posting it, right? Because now these days everybody has a camera. They were being filmed arguing in Jersey City when they were filming the movie. And people were like, look at these two main actors. They're always so, they do such a great job acting, right? Because that's what they're they're acting. But behind the scenes, they probably hate each other, and then people started posting all these videos. There's a lot of video on TikTok about it. So this is so crazy. It's a very sensitive subject. I think he needs to speak more about it now, right? Um, he needs to, you know, come out exactly and say more about it after this big lawsuit that's coming out that was just filed against him. And, I'm not trying to take anybody's side. I'm looking at the facts and I'm saying, like, for him to be there probably, in that movie, like, I know there's other famous people and all of that, but Blake is like the most known, right? And he's gonna do all of that, and he's the producer of the film. Like, and not only that, if he's doing that to her, he needs to, like, she's married to somebody else who's also big in the industry. So he's a very bold guy if he did all of that they're saying right here. And now, if he's guilty, then he's gonna pay for it. So we shall see, I guess, right? Let me know, guys, what you think about this. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much for listening in the podcast. Have a good day. God bless.